welcome to today's App Academy. It is November the 5th, 2025. And this App Academy is sponsored and brought to you by Avalara, Use, and Avid Exchange. My name is Gary Dehart. I am the host of this App Academy and the publisher of Insightful Accountant. We have three speakers today. Basically, it's Mike Tribout, who's here on the line with us right now. Tribout on the line with us right now from Avalara. He's going to be talking about streamlining tax compliance with Avalara for QuickBooks. Following him will be Chandler Watts from Avid Exchange. He'll be talking smarter payables for QuickBooks, basically how do you streamline your accounts payable. And then following that is Gary Bailey from Use, and he'll be talking about modernizing AP workflows and how Use extends the power of QuickBooks. With that said, Mike, thank you so much for being here. And I am going to go off camera and turn it over to you, but I will be here in the background.
Awesome. Thank you again. Thank you again. Pleasure to meet you all. A little bit about myself. My name is Mike Tribout. I am a SMB team lead for at Avalara. So I work primarily with QuickBooks users in that space of QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop. So what I wanted to show you today was an instance of how Avalara operates within QuickBooks Online in a live scenario. So hold please while I share my screen. So what I have here is I have an instance of QuickBooks Online. My bookkeeping is not up to date because this is not exactly a live environment for my use, but it is for use for testing and for showcasing like we are today. So as you normally would for any type of invoice build out, you're going to go in, you're going to select your customer, right? Whether you got to add a new or you have an existing. So I have an existing customer base right here, populates for Denver, Colorado, 2001 Blake Street. And then, of course, I have my ship to build here the same. And then, of course, my ship from is going to be our headquarters here in Durham, North Carolina. And same thing as you normally would for any sort of. So what we're going to be doing for any instance here, you're going to build your invoice as normal. So I have a clothing item, and then I have a software as a service item, probably two items you're not going to see normally on a day-to-day basis. But for the sake of consistency, we're going to go ahead and hit save close. Now, what's going to happen in this time frame is Avalara is going to get what we call a get tax call. That get tax call is going to go to Avalara. We're going to look at the ship from, ship to address. We're going to look at who we're selling to. And we're going to look at what we're selling. Based on those three instances, we're going to provide a tax decision. And that tax decision will then go back. And in real time, I'll click here. I'll go back and I'll open that invoice. And there it is. Tax has been calculated based on the ship to address. And I will show you the details there in a moment as I pop over to the Avalara instance. But to give you an idea, as of right now, we don't appear down into what you would normally see in QuickBooks where you see the sales tax. We're actually going to appear as a line item. I will note that there is an update coming soon, which is a fantastic update where we will actually be removing ourselves from this line item that everyone's used to seeing to down here in the regular sales tax. The idea of this is to provide not only a better experience for our customers, but involve more in-depth integrations later down the road. So with that instance, I do want to indicate that we do appear as a line item, but in the future, you will see an update coming out shortly that will show the sales tax being populated down here. Now, what happens when it goes to Avalara? What does it look like? So here I have my same QuickBooks demo instance. For Avalara, I'm going to go ahead and do a nice little refresh of my screen. So it'll show my invoice that I did just a few moments ago. And there it is right there. So there it is, my invoice 1036 for Colorado. And going back to what I said before earlier, we are looking at the ship from. So what we do, and this is what separates Avalara from any sort of tax calculation software that's available, either in an ERP accounting system or outside of into a third party. We are going to convert that address to a longitude, latitude, essentially dropping a pin on that rooftop. We call it rooftop-level accuracy. And with that instance, we ask these very specific scenario questions during the calculation. And we ask, hey, in this instance, is Avalara supposed to be calculating in this state, yes or no? If the answer is yes, we move to the next question. Is your customer buying your product? Are they reselling it? Are they an exempt customer or are they taxable? In this instance, they are taxable, so we move to the next one. But I will let you know that if there's an instance where they are exempt, Avalara has the ability, which I'll show in a moment, where we can see their exemption certificate and then remit, or I would say not apply tax to that invoice real time for you. So when you're invoicing, there's no decision needs to be made, hey, is this customer exempt or not? Because we're going to do that for you. And then the last one is going to be product or service taxability. So doesn't matter where you're selling, who you're selling to, or where you're selling to. The variabilities of tax calculation based on a product or service is going to vary across the US. Well, we're going to make that decision for you because we've already done the research, we've already uploaded the content. And then based on that logic, if all are yes, based on any state, city, or any special tax applied, we're going to return a percentage. And then, of course, what should be collected. And all of that here, it's based on each line item. So we're not looking at an invoice at whole. We're actually breaking it down further to a line item, which is going to give us the most accurate calculation possible. Because at the end of the day, we want to ensure that when you're remitting sales tax to a state or taxes being remitted back to a state, that they're only getting what they deserve. So that's what we're here to ensure. Now, what does it look like with an exemption process? So we have exemption certificate management, otherwise known as ECM, formerly known as cert capture for anyone that's been around Avalara for several years. We rebranded it, and essentially what it is, we built it into the AvaTax environment to display what you should have or what you should expect from an exemption certificate requirements. Now, obviously in real time, this should all really be green, or maybe a few instances where there might be some invalid or expired certificates that weren't received. But the idea is to keep it all green. But for this instance, we're going to give you kind of a color-coded idea of what is here, what we need to get, and what's expired, and so forth. Now, what Avalara does is we automate this process. So you see it, but as the certificate is nearing expiration, and in a 30, 60, 90-day window, we're actually sending out notifications to your customers, having them update that certificate. The idea is to keep you as a business compliant, or your clients compliant for that matter. So what the idea is that when that certificate is sent to that customer, or the link is, they submit it, it comes back to Avalara. Avalara then tells QuickBooks, hey, this customer is exempt for the next invoice. If that doesn't happen, the next compliant process would be during the next invoice, we would charge them sales tax. So we're just following rules. We are here to automate as much as we can, but at the end of the day, we are going to follow that rule. So that's what our exemption certificate management looks like from that scenario. The next piece I think is going to be very important, and is really kind of the one that takes it home, is what do you do when all those tax dollars are collected? Well, we follow a very strict schedule. So if you look up here in our top box here, I'll zoom in here for you so a lot of people can see, is we're going to build out reporting between the 1st and the 10th, and usually it comes out very immediately. Actually, it always comes out very immediately on about the 1st of the month, but you have till the 10th to either do any reconciliations, credit memos, anything you need to do to shore up your filings for that period of time. So for the previous month, we want to make sure that we have all the right numbers. At the 10th, by about 5 p.m. Pacific time, we are going to lock the ability for any changes to be made in Avalara, because at that point, because you've signed over the power of attorney, Avalara is going to automatically file for you. So usually within that first week after the filing, so from the 11th through 13th, we're going to pull a lump sum, which is going to be this $27,000 right here. And we're going to pull a lump sum out, and we're going to remit it and break it out to all the states that are requiring you to file at that time. And then, of course, at the end of the month, we are going to provide reporting that shows what we did. So all of this is all meant to be audit ready. It's all meant to be sent to that user for any reason. So if the state does come knocking, although we can't prevent an audit from happening, we can absolutely ensure the business is ready to provide that reporting, so there's no delays in the regular business operations, day-to-day use. But I do want to point out a few things here. You're going to see this approval button, or undo approval. So this has actually no indication if Avalara is actually going to file for you or not. This is actually internal use only. So if you hit approval, that just means if you have multiple users that have access to this, they're not going to have multiple hands in the cookie jar, right? So if someone looks at Alabama through California, the next user that comes in is going to say, okay, great, that was already done. I can move on to Colorado, Connecticut, and Florida. The idea is to streamline that. There's not a lot of, so the whole point is to streamline this process, so there's not a lot of duplication in workflows or processes for any accountant or bookkeeper that is going to be utilizing the software. So very forward. And I'll also point to is we're also going to show down we're also going to break down where the tax is going. So you have an idea as well. All this reporting is obviously done in Avalara. So any type of use of reporting within QuickBooks from this standpoint probably won't be the best use. But with that being said, Avalara's reporting is meant for the accountant in mind. So we have a very robust system that can be catered or can be customized to your specific user experience. And then real quick, I want to jump back and it's like, how did we get to this point? What are we looking to achieve? And the idea is, we're trying to get to compliance. So what happens when you're not registered in a state yet and you're just selling? Well, what Avalara does is we have a heat map here on the right side. It's a map of the US. And what it's meant to do is meant to track your selling, your remote selling. So if you're selling into states like Kansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, uh, when you're hitting a particular state's economic threshold, we're going to notify you, right? We're going to send an email notification to the users on the account and say, hey, you're about 80% of that state's threshold. You might want to look at getting registered. And the next question would be, it's like, what happens when we get over it? Well, we're going to send another email notification that's going to give you that 100% saying, hey, you've hit 100%. You probably need to get registered. Now, what happens to, and how do you get registered? Well, Avalara can do that all right here. So you can do register in particular states, you hit get started, and we can start the registration process for you. Essentially what that does is that eliminates you having to go to multiple state Department of Revenues to register in 50, 45 different ways, right? It's one way, one questionnaire, synced to all states' websites. So we kind of have that backdoor into that state for that scenario. And then generally what happens is when that information comes back, as long as we're told what to do, we're going to automate it. And I'd say, Gary, that's really what I have to show from our demo space. Hopefully that was enough to enlighten the group and to kind of give them an insight of how Avalara works from that standpoint.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions that have popped up. Looks like Renee says, do you have to save and close the invoice for it to calculate, then send to the customer as a second step?
That is a great question. You can either do save and close to save it and then go back in and send it, or you can hit review send. You'll get the same result, but the review send obviously will send it to the customer with the calculation. But if you do a save and close, yes, it does have to have, there has to be that trigger that initiates the get tax call for Avalara to calculate. So
Okay,
that's a great question.
Great. Then there was another question from Stephen that says, is this applicable to the global version? Not sure if
So
that gives you enough information to answer that question.
it does. We do have a few instances where QuickBooks has multiple versions, right? QBO Canada, QBD Canada, and then of course there's US version. So right now we have integrations active in the QuickBooks Online US version, QuickBooks Desktop US version, and QuickBooks Desktop Canada version. All other versions outside of the US, outside of the desktop, we do not support. So unfortunately, I wish I had a better answer for you, but in the process of when you reach out to us and understand that question, could hopefully save that question. But yes, we integrate into the QBO US, QBD US, and QBD Canada.
Okay, fantastic. Then I'm going to go back to the last thing you were just talking about. Is that as far as the setting up with the states, is that fairly new, or have you guys always had that capability?
We've always had that capability, and we're
Hmm.
always changing it. We're always making it better. It maybe not be the hottest topic to talk about is getting registered in the state, but it's the first key piece of getting compliant in a state is to get registered.
Right. I mean, that seems highly valuable to me.
No, for sure, for sure. And
Yeah.
I see a question here from James. Does Avalara handle all the variables of construction pricing in California? So our content is ever growing and ever changing. While I don't specifically know every rule of construction that is required in California, we have over 3,500 skewed tax code items that are applicable to various amount of industry. So we are very industry agnostic, anything from a digital goods all the way up to your construction matters. So while I can't say specifically, hey, yes, we do it, we do have content around construction. So if we do have the content, yes, we absolutely can support the various pricing around construction within the California space. And that spot would be for nationwide as well too, not just California specific. Can you help with restaurant sales taxes. So Avalara has strategically aligned itself to make to be able to part of any industry supported. While Avalara alone does not have a great resource for the restaurant, we have a solution. We acquired a company called Davo a few years back to help in that space. So if you go to davosalestax.com, you can actually research particular POS systems that we do have integrations into. So Avalara can support you in the restaurant space. That's a great question. Thanks, Trish.
And okay, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Anything
Awesome.
in closing? How do people reach you? Actually, two things. One, how do they reach you? And then we have a short poll question too.
Yeah, absolutely. So to get a hold of me, you can reach out to me via email. My name is Michael. It's Michael, period, Tribout, Tribo at avalara.com. So michael.tribo@avalara.com.
Are you an accounting or tax professional who wants to stay ahead without spending a dime? Join thousands who trust insightful accountant and tax practice news to keep them informed and empowered. Get expert updates on QuickBooks, Xero, tax planning strategies, and workflow tips delivered straight to your inbox. Whether you're a solo bookkeeper, firm leader, or tax advisor, these newsletters are your shortcut to what's next in the profession. They're free, practical, and built for people like you. Visit insightfulaccountant.com and hit subscribe to start your smarter workflow today for free.